I'm going to go ahead and get this recording pop up there. Thank you guys so much for being here. We are going to chat today for about 45 minutes on how to create your digital listing presentation. So as many of you probably have started to hear a little bit, we are, looking at a changing marketplace. Kind of the last 16, 24 months, you could really just do anything and you were able to get a listing potentially on the market. You didn't really have to have the skills to succeed in this market. So we are definitely predicting that we are going to be moving to a skills-based marketplace for real estate agents. So one of the key parts of your business plan that you need to have, key components, is going to be a listing presentation. And again, in 2022, I think it's vitally important to have it in a digital and print format and have all those available, because you don't know where you're going to be doing them. Who knows? You could be doing a listing appointment out on a boat where you might not have good Wi-Fi or good internet. So you might have to go to paper, but it is a great idea, again, in today's marketplace to have a digital copy of your listing presentation. So we're going to go over that today. That is our goal. It is designed to be an interactive class. So please, if you in a place where you can turn your camera on safely and interact and engage, that always makes it a better class for everybody. But again, please, feel free to pop up your hand for any questions, drop it in the chat. I have the chat open on another screen. Shouldn't have to pause to let anybody in. So we should be good to go. But who on here, just by a show of hands or dropping in the chat, who has a listing presentation that they use right now? I see one hand. Anybody else? We got a thumbs up. Good. I would hope so, Jason. AJ's got his. Awesome. Thank you. Good. So that means that of the 20 people that are on here right now, we have 4 or 5 that have something that they would consider a reputable listing presentation or some kind of content that they're giving and delivering on the listing presentation. So great. That means the majority of you are here. You're in the right place then for today's class. So what we are going to cover today are objectives. We're going to start by talking about the key elements of a listing presentation, what you need to have in there, what you want to have in there to showcase you, your team, and your skills and your unique value proposition. We're also going to talk about the timing of your listing presentation, how you want to deliver it, where you want to deliver it, those kind of things. We're going to look at some options that are out there for digital presentation resources. As you know, with Keller Williams, we have Command as a tool. Is not the only tool that's available. In fact, for some, it may not be the tool they want to use, but as a great free tool. So we are going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about creating your brand assets in Command, and then what you can do to customize your digital presentation templates in both Command and Canva. Was there anything else that anybody was hoping that would be covered today that we might be able to talk about? That's what I had on the agenda for today, but I'd love to get some input from anybody else.
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would like to speak about which media would we use? Would it be, would it be text, video, text, email, Zoom? Would it be Zoom? So what kind of media would it be, or would it be a Zoom, but then you'd be on the phone? I'd like to hear about that.
That's a great question. Yeah, we will definitely can discuss that for the timing of the listing presentation. Absolutely. Anything else? All right, then let's hop on in. So we're going to talk about what we talked about. We said we're going to talk about first are the key elements of a listing presentation. So these are what I would consider the 9 things, or at least 8 plus a close in there, that you want to have as part of your listing presentation. And so you're going to start with a short overview and an agenda. So that could be kind of just what we just did on the last slide. You're setting the expectations. The whole point behind having an agenda is really twofold. You're setting the expectation like, hey, I'm the expert here. I'm the one who knows what I'm talking about. And then 2, you're also, you're going to help constrain the time of this, because time is the most important asset that all of us have. And I will guarantee that some of the people, and even ones that are on this call, have had 2.5 hour listing appointments. And that's because they just kind of let them go, really didn't control the meeting during that first point. And I do just want to add that controlling the presentation and controlling the agenda does not mean that you're doing all the talking. It just means that you're establishing yourself as the expert here. So you're establishing yourself from the beginning as the expert in this presentation. The second thing you want to include is your professional bio. You got to have something in there about yourself and about your history and why you're here and what you're all about. Now, I will also add, when we get to the timing portion of this doesn't have to be a huge point of the listing presentation itself. You can get some of this stuff out ahead of time in a pre-listing packet as well, which I highly recommend. And as Jason kind of alluded to, video might be a great way to get some of that pre-listing fluff about you out ahead, so that when you're at the meeting, you're really focusing on them. You also want to make sure, and this is really a lot for the newer agents that are in the classroom, or really feel like they don't have the track record of success that you would want to promote, that would make people want to work with you. So that's where you can harness the power of the brokerage. So Keller Williams is the #1 real estate franchise in the country, and we are not afraid to tell people about that. And there are some great resources out there for you to be able to do that. One of the ones is the Lore Report. So every month, every one of you should receive an email with the Lore Report, which stands for the language of real estate. And that is a report that our office puts together every month for you, that shows how Keller Williams is doing versus the rest of the market. So if you have your own stats or your own team stats or anything like that, of course, you're going to lead with those. But in the absence of your own stuff, you're also going to, and also I would say put them together, you're going to want to leverage the two together, leverage your own personal brand, as well as the combination that combined with the Keller Williams brand. There are also, if you go out, and I'm just going to hop out of the slide deck here for just a minute, but if you go to outfrontkw.com, great resource for a lot of stuff about Keller Williams. You will find on there some great things to read about Keller Williams accolades. Actually, if you go to Join KW, that's a better place for it. If you go down, there's a whole section on the accolades of Keller Williams in there. Somewhere in here, I promise you it was last time I checked. I'll find it for you and get it to you guys. Hold me accountable to that. They must have moved it, but there's a place where you can say, #1 place for women to work, #1 training resource, all those things. You can leverage harness the power of Keller Williams to get you to that. Again, that's, if you ever feel like you don't have the track record or the evidence of success to make them want to work with you, that's another resource you can do. Then you're going to make sure that you have some slides in there. And the reason that I like a slide deck or some kind of formal presentation as opposed to just an ad lib, it's going to make sure that you stay on target. And then, of course, big part of that target is going to be focusing it back on the client needs. So you can do that through a questionnaire that you have printed ahead of time. Another great thing that you should have done is a pre-listing questionnaire. And then you're kind of confirming that information that you said. So, hey, Jason, I know when we chatted last week, you were looking to make a move to California to relocate the family. Just want to make sure, what's most important to you. You're focusing on the client's needs. Is it a quick sale? Is it, I can go out there and in 6 months, the company is going to buy it from me anyway. So you're really focusing back on the client needs. And then you're going to talk about the local market conditions. You have some other great resources available out there for you. You have, again, this is maybe where you're putting the lore in there as well, but you can also put statistics from the Board of Realtors. So the Board of Realtors, right on the when you log in, there's a market statistics report there. You can leverage those out. They have some social media pieces as well that are available. So you want to talk about the local market conditions at a high level. Then you're also going to talk about the listing sales process. So what are you going to do? What's that process look like as far as staging or pre-listing, staging, photos, all of that stuff, what their timeline is going to be. Because you got to remember, for most people, on average, it's 7 to 10 years that they move. So if they're selling a house, it could have been 7 to 10 years ago that they did this the last time. So the conditions change, the process changes. That's your opportunity, again, to establish yourself as that professional. Then the most important part outside of focusing on the client needs is going to be, what are you going to do to market the property? You need to get that in there, and you need to make sure that you drive that home. I'll also add a little asterisk story here as well. Put as much in there as simple as, like, even something as simple as putting in the MLS. Of course, you're going to put it in the MLS. You know you're going to put it in the MLS. You're actually legally obligated to put it in the MLS per the listing agreement. Yet sometimes we overlook that. And I was in a conversation with someone, in another market center a couple of weeks ago, and they were telling me how they lost a listing appointment on a $1.5 million house because in their marketing presentation, they didn't put that they put it in the MLS. So get as minute as a thing, as trivial as a thing as you think it would be, make sure you get that in there. To make sure that, again, that you're driving home that, again, this is stuff we do day in and day out, but it's not stuff that the consumer and the public does day in and day out. So make sure you're getting stuff in there about the marketing. And then once you get through that, I just kind of pause here, pause this presentation a little bit and go into script a little bit. And Jason, I know you probably have some great drive homes about this as well. Here's an opportunity for you to do a soft close and see where you're at with all the stuff that you had. So after you do your marketing presentation, before you go into the comparables, and this is my opinion, ask how they're doing. Like, how are you doing? We talked about this. Here's what our agenda was. Do you like what we have to say? And then if we can agree on price, are you ready to sign your paperwork today? And then that lets you know you got a little soft close. Okay, they like what we had to say. Now we're ready for, if we can agree on price, would you agree to sign the paperwork with me tonight? So it's an opportunity right then after your marketing presentation to get that in there as well. Jason.
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is a key point that Chris just made. If I may make a comment, it's very easy in real estate to be an information booth and to give away free information and to give away the value of a house and to just spill all of that professional information, all the research you've done, and give them that number on the phone. And you haven't actually, let's say you haven't made the appointment and you don't know that you're going to meet them and you're not meeting them. I would urge all of us to be very careful not to do that. So if you look at he's all the way down to number 6, the listing sales process and the marketing, right? And then I love that he's going for that soft close. Hey, if everything I say, makes you feel comfortable and confident that we can get your home sold, do you think you'll go ahead and work with us? I think that's a great question to ask at that point. Instead of just assuming that they're going to work with you, and then you show them all of the hard work that you've done to value the property, and then they say, well, actually, no, we're going to interview 2 or 3 other agents. I think it's better to know if they're going to be working with other agents before you give them the comparable sales data.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for that insight, Jason.
Necessary.
Thank you. All right. So then you're going to share your comparable sales data. Again, this is not a class about pulling comps or anything like that. If you're looking for resources on that, I know that the Flex MLS just did a 46-minute seminar on that last week, or last two or 3 weeks ago. They really dug into the CMA process in Flex. We have trainings on our portal as well. So some, we're not going to talk about that, but that's where, as Jason said, I would recommend getting that information, saving it for that moment in the presentation. And then once you've gone over all of this stuff and this information, now you're going to close for this listing paperwork. So that's kind of the key elements of a listing presentation. You obviously have the flexibility of where you want to put things in there. This is not designed to be an absolute 1 through 9 process, with the asterisk being, I would highly recommend that you're going to, reserve your comparable data to closer to the end of it, because it is going to be, and I'm sure Jason would agree on this too. You are going to get your people who that's all they want. Like they're just, what's it worth? That's your D, your high D, and you're going to have to play with them in the best way that you know how, and that's going to work best for them. But I would be really hesitant to just lead with that kind of stuff, because then it's just going to be all they hear is that number, and then they're going to be done. Any questions? All right. So next thing we want to talk about is going to be when and how to present it. So one of the things that we, again, this is going to depend on your time, on a timeline that the client gives you as well. So if if you're going on this listing appointment tomorrow, you're going to have to do this all in person. In an ideal world, I like to get like 5 to 7 days lead time on it. Really make sure you can get your research dug in on it. It's also going to give you the opportunity to get some of the fluff out ahead of time, so you can send it to them in a pre-listing presentation kind of thing, where you can really focus on that. That's, like I said, that's my puffery piece, my fluff. That's the all about me. That can be done in a video format. I would be really hesitant to get an entire presentation done via video with one little unless you can get a really good follow-up call to action in that. So, because again, that's people want to do things on the move. They want to do it now. So sometimes scheduling 5 to 7 days out is not going to be realistic. They want to get that information from you and they want it now. If you have like a canned listing presentation, I would be hesitant, again, like I said, to get all of that out ahead of time. You can get a good portion of that out in a pre-listing format, including some kind of call to action, some kind of follow-up for them where they can click to a link and maybe download some files to help prepare for the listing appointment. Then if they've clicked on that with the metrics that are there, how serious that person is to meet you. But I would be real hesitant to put my whole listing presentation together via video, because you're not going to get that one-to-one connection. So I would prefer definitely to do it live in person. And of course, you need to see the house and to do that as well. And then, I would also kind of best practice would be to do it in the kitchen of the house. It's where most business tends to take place in the house, is in that kitchen. The living room tends to be a little more relaxed of a location. Again, those are just personal preferences. And I am going to, again, not really part of this, but as far as my listing appointment itself, I'm going to tour the house ahead of time to confirm the data that I have. And preferable, not always going to work, I'm going to tour that house on my own without the seller going around and telling me about how they've got 4x10 construction and that makes their house worth $60,000 more. Try to give them some homework to do while you're doing that too. But my preference would be to do it live in person. If you're going to include some kind of media, don't give them everything away. Questions, comments? How does anybody else like to deliver their listing presentation?
So Chris, how do you approach that you want to take a personal tour of the home without them there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nancy. And the way that I've addressed that would be to something, Nancy, I can appreciate that, you have your point of your perspective. I'm gonna go around and be sure that I'm looking at the house the same way that a buyer would look at the house. That way we're not getting any, I wouldn't say false, but any, interpretations or any points that aren't how our buyer is going to see it. And also I have this stuff to talk, for you to fill out about the utilities and stuff like that while I'm touring the house. I'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes at most. And that way I can get a true tour of the house.
So is that the residential property disclosure you're having them fill out while you're
You can have them
touring?
do that, or something. If you've got like a pre-listing sheet that's about utilities, they can put, I've got H2Go, here's my account number, I have DirecTV, all of that stuff. You can give them some, and that's if they didn't do it, if you didn't get them to do that ahead of time too. But that would be how I would address that.
So are you sending that checklist out in a pre-list
Yeah.
packet?
Yep.
Okay.
Kind of like I don't know if you were in the Ignite class that Hannah did on the listing presentation, but I think she has a pre-listing packet that she sends out too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right, so we're going to talk about what options are available out there for creating this digital listing presentation. So you're going to have some options. Again, there are more than this. These are just some of the ones that I would recommend that I feel are the most user friendly and for the most part, low or minimal cost perspective. So the most well-known of all of the formats as far as creating a digital presentation would be Microsoft PowerPoint. You can get a free version of it, but it's not, the free version is not that great. You can also use a tool that all of you would have with the kw.com email account, because that is a Google product. So you can use Google Slides. That's where this presentation for today was made in. It's made in Google Slides. You can animate it. You can do all sorts of cool things inside there as far as animation and customization. And then you can also use another digital format such as Canva. Canva is great because it's got, a lot of templates that are out there that are free and included in the standard membership. And it is really, really easy to use as far as editing goes. The other option would be to use a template. So one of the terms that you'll hear me say, if you're around me enough, is when you ask, kind of questions to me, I'll say GTS. And that is Google that blank. You use whatever S you want to use there, but Google that stuff. You can literally just Google free listing presentation template and about 180,000 results are going to come up in there. I know that Tom Ferry Coaching has a free listing presentation template out there. Again, if you just Google it, you'll find, plenty of resources. As I mentioned earlier, Keller Williams Command has 5 options for you that are all customizable. Benefit of KW Command is it's going to be connected to to KWLS, so it will have all previous listings and data in there without having to import and export pictures. You can also build your brand in there, which we're going to focus some time on today. And then Canva has some free basic templates as well. So you can literally, if you have a Canva account and you just go into the search bar and you type in listing presentation templates, you'll see that they have some very, very simple out there. Then if you want to take it to the next level and you really don't have the time and resources to create your own from the template itself from scratch, you can buy a template from a creator. There are several on, if you went to go to Etsy.com and type in listing presentation template, they'll have those in a lot of those other templates. So you can find Canva templates that you can then edit and make your own. You could also go to a resource like Upwork or Fiverr and find someone out there who will create, you give them all of your data and they create your listing presentation template for you. This is a very personalized kind of business, so it might be worth your time to definitely go ahead and create your own, at least from one of these templates. What other resources have you guys seen out there for creating templates like this?
I think, I use video. So video is really great because it's there, it's in a library, it's easy to access it. And then you can actually text people a link. So whether it's pre-listing or after, after you're listed, and then who my assistant is and all of that, video is just, people are drawn to it, Chris.
Oh,
They
yeah.
prefer, even like this, you're on video,
Mhm.
we're seeing you, we're watching you, we're learning from you. So it's the same way a client, we're just trained right now, Chris, to be looking at videos that are 30 or 45 seconds. That's
Mhm.
it. So if it would be, YouTube, or if it would be a TikTok, a quick TikTok or something going out, I think that's where I'm going with my presentations. It
Do
just,
you use Bomb or something like that? Or are you saying-
I used to, and now, because YouTube is so massive, and people are trained to just click on YouTube, and I find that they don't care if there's like an ad on there. People just don't really care.
Yeah.
They go on there and then they look at it, and it's just a really great way to communicate. And then they get me. They get all of me. They get my personality. They understand. I would much rather them know that they don't want to work with me right now.
Mhm.
Let's just find out right now. So for me, it's like, you know what, guys, this is a job interview. So I would like to apply for the job of getting your home sold,
Mhm.
at the best price, the best terms, the best conditions, and the fewest hassles. And let's get you to Atlanta. Let's get you to Texas. So my
Yeah.
name's Jason Bell. I'm so looking forward to working with you. So video is so powerful. And that way, if they're, at work, or they're picking up their kids, or they're at home, or they're, they just woke up from a nap, they can look at it in their time. And
Mhm.
it's very convenient for them. And I find that society just continues to go that way. It's a challenge to get someone to take that time to sit with us. So I like using video a lot.
Yeah, I think you can. I love where you're going with that, Jason. I'll even challenge you a little bit more to that too. I think you can set the table with a 30, 45-second video, like here's what's coming. And then if you want to take it to the next level, marry the two. Take like literally like when you download a recording of this, like when this gets out there on YouTube, it's going to be my presentation and then a little picture of me in the corner. So you could do your listing presentation this way. I would just also make sure I'm adding opportunities for them to continue the conversation in there. Like click here to download the second part, and I can tell you about my marketing. That way, you've got those checkpoints in there. So I would love to see you I would love to even help you take that to the next level too. Love that. Any other options as far as creating that digital listing presentation? And I 100% agree, Jason. That's where everybody wants to go. Like even again, this class today, at least 10 to 15 people reached out to me and said, you're going to record it, because they couldn't get there at this exact time. So. All right. So we are going to then hop into some of those resources, as we talked about, showing you how to navigate some of those resources. So we talked about some of the options that are there. I do want to just hop out something I neglected to cover during the portion we talked about the listing presentation. We talked about what you're going to do as far as that listing process. I just want to share another resource that's out there that I don't know that everybody knows it's there, so I'm going to share it. If you go to kellerinc.com, so that's KELLER Inc.com, this is where you can purchase all of the Keller Williams books that Gary Keller has written. I'm not here to sell you books. I'm here to show you about the resources. If you go under the resources tab at the top, there are resources from each one of the books. The one I want to highlight today is under the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. There is this 192 tasks list for megas. And this is a spreadsheet that goes over all the 192 things that a real estate agent does to sell property. You can pluck from there, and that becomes your selling timeline, or what you're going to do to sell the process part of your listing presentation. So that's just a downloadable spreadsheet. It opens in Excel, and it shows you it also goes to the 7th level team and who's doing what on a 7th level team. But if you want just the tasks, that's a great resource for that. So who knew that was there? Just Keller Inc. in general. All right, a couple people did. The old veterans did, but the 22 other people who didn't, It's a great resource for you. So, all right. So we want to talk about what you can do to create, to edit the content that is available out there for you. So I just want to show you a couple examples we talked about, and then we're going to dive into some in Command. So I talked about some of the ones that are out there for free. So this is one, if you were to literally just search inside of Canva and you looked at, if you write in Canva, you did listing presentation template, you can go in here and you would see that this is one of the ones that they have for you. So again, this is just we're going to start from the start of this. But it's a free listing template that you can go ahead and customize. So all of this becomes customizable. What I like about Canva is it's a great, it's got that animation there, really makes you look like a true professional. And all of this stuff is editable, including colors, photos, all of that stuff. So a great free resources out there for you. So as an example, if I didn't want the brown, I could literally just click on that, go over to the color and put my color down there. I don't want the font, I can just go ahead and highlight the entire thing and change the font to a single font. And then kind of mess around with that. So great, again, that's a free option for you through Canva. And then you can take something, I'll show you what we had from Reach Properties too, just to kind of show you some examples. So this is what our Reach Properties listing presentation looked like, kind of going back to what we talked about as far as the flow of it. So we talked about our agenda. Here's what we're going to do. Outside of these 4 things, is there anything else that's important to you to talk about? Great question right there in your script. You're going to uncover your objections right there. And you're going to be able to say, well, I really want to know what your commission is. I can understand how much, how important commission is to you. We'll talk about that during the presentation, during the meeting. So you're going to uncover your opportunities there. Talked about the market. Talked about some of the marketing we did with professional photography. So this is a Canva template that we created it from inside of Canva, and this is what we used on our listing presentation. So again, that was just a Canva template. Same exact thing that we used in Google Slides, just not as animated. So we had the same presentation there. So we had it in multiple formats. We talked about, again, such a simple thing as we put it on the MLS and that we put it out to over 350 websites, probably up to like 700 now. But again, it's just something that the general public doesn't necessarily know automatically happens. So those are just some examples there, but where I really wanted to focus the rest of our time today is inside of Command. So any questions on anything we've covered so far? All right, so inside of Command, as I mentioned, there are lots of other tools out there. My job is to focus you in on Command as well. So there are 5 templates that are completely customizable inside of Command that you can edit and make as your own. So if you go under Designs, which is going to be the little paintbrush looking thing as far as the applets on the left-hand side, go into Designs. And then you go into Create Design and then choose Print. Hit Continue. This is going to bring you the library of all of the content that has been created for you that is completely customizable. Where you're going to find the listing presentation is going to be under Listing and then Listing Presentation. And you can see that there are 5 different templates here. So you can choose the one that looks the best for you. But before we dive into that, one of the things that we need to really focus on, it's going to save you some time moving forward, if you choose to use Command as your platform for this, is setting up your brand assets. So your brand assets are where you can set your color scheme, your fonts, have your headshot, your logos, all of that stuff preloaded into Command so that it becomes just point and click as far as editing goes. So to do that, you're going to go under Assets. And the first thing that's going to pop up are going to be your color palettes. So if you want to create your own color palette, you're going to go to Add Color Palette to the right-hand side. and you can go in to create that color palette. You can just hit the pluses here. If you have your RGB codes, you can do that. If you have your hex codes instead, which is more popular, I would say today, you need to know your colors. And you can start adding all of your colors in there. So once you have all your color schemes set there, so if you have your own branding colors, you can set up your own palette this way. So if you're orange and brown and black, if you use your KW colors, those are, you can create your own thing there. And then if you have your own custom fonts and you have the font files for them, you can add them there. I'm not going to go into that as much today, but that is completely doable. So if you have the actual font files, you can do that. The other two places you want to go for sure are going to be images and then logos. So under images, this is where you're going to put your headshot. And then when what putting that in here will do is that when you use one of the templates, it knows which is an image that should be a headshot. And you literally just right click on it and it's going to swap out that photo for you. Logos, this is where you can upload all of your KW logos as well as your own personal branding logos if you have those. For those that may not be aware of this resource that is out there, we have a resource for you, of course. If you go to innovateagents.com, and if you click under North Carolina or South Carolina resources, they're both there. If I could type, it'd be better. If you go under resources, and if you go to North Carolina or South Carolina, choose your one. Go to North Carolina, and you see KW Innovate logo files. Go ahead and click there. That's going to bring you to our Dropbox account where you can download all of the official KW Innovate logo files. In this case, South Carolina's would be the same files now, but you have those resources out there as well for you. So if you need to find, that's just wanted to show you that where you can upload those brand assets. And then you can also start adding videos, text standard text. Like if you have a tagline that you use, you can upload that so you don't have to type it every time in there. So show of hands, or actually in the chat box, put yes or no, whether you knew that the brand assets were there and that's something you could customize. I'll give you a minute on that. All right, so it seems like it's about half that did not know it was there. So hopefully, again, you guys, that's going to be your first step, because that's going to save you a lot of time in creating really any of the digital marketing or the marketing pieces inside of Command. Once you have that set up, now you're going to go back to templates, listing presentation, choose the one you want. All 5 have the same content in them as far as the what is already in there for you. It's just which presentation works best for you and your style. So I'm just going to choose this one here. I like the modern look. That's what I think they call that one. I'm going to choose that one. Once you pull up this template, it's going to show you, again, if you're familiar with Canva or other tools that are out there, this is a very similar working as that. But what you'll see here is if you move around, it's only going to show you the page that you're currently on. However, in the bottom right corner, if you click on the pages, it's going to bring up all 29 of the pages that are in there. So this is a 29-page template that is already designed for you. If you need to edit it, you have some options. Well, of course, you have lots of options in there to do that. But this is where it becomes, you can just click on any of the assets that are there. So if you didn't like those, you just highlight it and you can delete it. If you want to change the font color to be your branding assets that you just set up previously, you go into any of the text boxes and select it all. And if you hover over the little circle there, and I want to make that green because that's my template of colors. Well, let's say I've got new color palette. No, that was one I just made. and I want to make that gray. Just go ahead and made that whole thing gray. If I want to, if there's an asset that's not there and I want to put my photo on the page itself, I can go ahead and just drag and drop, put that in there. You can add any KW logos that you had in there. So again, all of these pages become customizable based on however you want them to look. And if you go through the presentation, you're going to find that a lot of the stuff that we talked about in those steps that are there are in there, and the key components. AJ had a question.
Hey, Mr. Chris, can you hear me?
I can, sir.
So I was just wondering, where did you get those design elements like those dots and stuff? Because I've been messing with Command for a little while, and it's hard for me to find some of these extra little design components to throw in on a blank page to kind of add something to it.
So I did not get these. Those were there as a template. I believe they are going to be under images and then like under elements, stock. So they're in like that. There's a lot of options that are there for that. If I go to images and I go to stock, these are going to be like your stock images that are there. If I go to elements,
Also, Mr. Chris, I don't know if you said this or not, but what is the best browser to use Command on? Because I've learned Safari is not it.
Safari is definitely not it. It is more stable in Safari now than it previously was. I still believe that Chrome is the best option for that. For as far as the stability of Command.
Okay.
But all of these should be available in these different assets on the left-hand side. You just got to figure out what they're called. So you can drag, like they've got your little housing thing there. You get some options for that as well. I don't know if that answered it 100%, but that's where you're going to find all of those things. Are going to be under there. So each one of these pages, again, is customizable. So you can see, you know, this is an instruction page. Of course, you're going to delete this one once you've gotten through it, but every section has been written, designed so as to highlight the intended purposes of each page. This content is meant to be customized, because if you go through it, you're going to see that it's all specific to that. So this listing presentation is designed to be for a specific property. So the goal with these would be you would create a template that has all of your fluff, and then you're going to customize it for that specific property. So you can go in here, and this is John and Jane Smith. And that we didn't want that to go to 2 lines. So you just drag it and manipulate it around there. Compliments of, now you'll see here, as soon as I clicked on that, go to my assets. So these are these photos in here. And if I just right click, if I just hit that replace image, once I have it highlighted, it just swaps that right out for it. If you need to move it around because it didn't fit in their photo, you just double click on it and that makes it editable. Then you're done. So now here's where I was talking about with the importance of having those logos in there. So it knows this right here is a logo. If I just click on that, it pulled up all of my logos that I have in there. Then I just swap it out, and it just one click and it swaps it out. If I want to make it bigger, I can do that. So each one of these pages is customizable. So it's going to go through, again, we're talking about our agenda, your property, your transaction timeline. If you don't like that photo, you just go to the images, go to workspace. And if you go to house exteriors, there's a bunch of stock photos that are there that you can use. You just click on replace image and it just drags it and puts it in that same exact frame size. Because the other way that I see a lot of people doing that, let's go ahead and undo that there. So what I see a lot of people trying to do is they find the asset and they try to drag it and drop it, and they drop it over here. or they drop it here and now they've got to resize it and all that kind of stuff. The whole point of this is when you have it highlighted, you can just hit replace image and it just literally just swaps that image out for it. So all of these things are customizable. If you want to change what your agenda looks like, you can do that. Changing the fonts, you have the options there to do that. So I'm going to select all of that. And I'm going to use one of the other scripts that are in there. And now it just changed the entire format of that. I can resize it. So all of these pages are customizable. So you're going to go through and you're going to make the ones that are going to be stock for everything. So if you get down to, you're going to start seeing the process. And they've got plenty of spaces for you to add your own stuff. So you're going to go in and edit this. And this is going to kind of give them the timeline of what you're looking at. Goes through again, finding the buyer. So this is a great slide to kind of let them know where people are finding their buyer. So 75% of people are finding it from the internet or a real estate agent. So again, it goes through the entire, basically everything we talked about in what needs to be in there is going to be in here. And then it's customizable for that specific property. I see a question in the chat from Guy. Yes, you can upload an actual home photo. If you snapped one on your phone and uploaded it to here, you absolutely could do this. If this was one that was previously on the MLS, you can also search on KWLS and you can find any, and as long as it was listed in the MLS within the last couple of years, you'll be able to find that data there, grab photos from there. And that's the same way that you would create something for other marketing pieces. So that was everything that I wanted to cover for today. What questions do you guys have remaining on this?
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentation, by the way. Excellent.
Yeah.
You said that this particular template has 29 pages. Obviously, depending on the personality of the client that you're with, you're going to pick and choose the most pertinent pages, at least hitting those 5 key elements. How, if you're doing it digitally, do you reduce the size of your presentation or do you just skip past pages to get to the ones you know are relevant to the conversation you need to have that day?
Yeah, you can definitely customize it. You can and you can even, I don't know if you can
because I know you mentioned, like you usually like to have like 3 to 5 days to get the fluff and everything ready for this, but sometimes you don't have that kind of time.
No.
So that's why it's good to have, like, I guess you could call it a generic version and kind of customize it as you go.
Yeah. So you can go in here and if you're like, so what I would say is my recommendation would be to have a template that has all and you can use the same template over and over. You can copy it. So you can say full listing presentation and then express listing presentation and just take out the fluff pages. So let's say in here is the promise, a promise. Let's say you're not going to get to that. You've got that D personality. They don't care about how awesome you are. They just want to know the number. You can literally just go in here, right click, hit the 3 dots and delete that page right from it. And then you have some options as far as downloading goes. You can download it as a PNG. You can download it as a PDF standard. So that's what I would recommend you would do this for this. So this is not going to present in the same way as like a Canva or a Google Slides is going to present, or Microsoft PowerPoint. This is designed to be more like a booklet style that you can download in a PDF format and show and have digitally as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, you can customize, you can drag and drop if you want to talk about, you want to talk earlier about your listing process. You can just take that listing process page, which was here, and then you can drag that and make that the 6th page. So you have complete customization for it, logos, photos, any of that kind of stuff. What other questions? All right. Well, then that is what I had for our time for today. So again, thank you so much for being on. I truly appreciate it. Just a reminder of a couple of trainings that we have coming up. So I have another Zoom only class on the 19th. That is from 11 to 11:45-ish. That is on leveraging your listings inside of Facebook campaigns. So that's July 19th, 11 to 11:45. And then on July 20th, I will be in person in Myrtle Beach, talking about with a class called Planting the Seeds for Your Real Estate Farm. So that'll be in Myrtle Beach on the 20th. And on the 27th, I'll be doing that same class in Ocean Isle Beach live in person there. So those are your July trainings, and hopefully the August stuff will be out and those dates will be ready as soon. So the goal, just to kind of let you guys know, we're going to be doing 2 Zoom formats like this per month, and then 1 in each market center or area live in person each month. That's my class training schedule.
So
Thank you,
what,
Chris.
are you gonna Zoom those at all?
What's that? Yeah, the ones that are live will probably be Zoom. They're not going to be Zoom like this. They'll probably be Zoom, but there's also going to be food at all of those too. So
Okay,
I've made that a requirement for me traveling to Myrtle Beach
Okay.
and to Ocean Isles. They're going to feed me while I'm there.
that sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for your time. Recording will be up probably by the end of the day, but thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.